Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Jessie and I do perfume reviews in ASMR format. So if you love perfumes and also if you enjoy ASMR, then you are in a good place for our video today. So today I'm doing a slightly different video. I'm actually going to be talking about perfume terminology. This was an idea that was given to me by a subscriber actually. So thank you, whoever suggested that idea. So just talking about different perfume terms, things, words that you hear in perfume all the time, like eau de parfum or gourmand or accord, words like that you might not know or you might know. I know most of these words, but I'm still learning a lot about fragrances. Yeah, I really just started my fragrance journey about 2 years ago, so I am no fragrance expert, and I might, when I talk about some of the stuff, I might not get it totally accurate, but you know, it's not that serious. We're just having fun and learning together. So, in today's video, obviously we're going to be talking about perfumes, but and perfume terms, but I'm also going to be doing some nail tapping. As you can see, this is one of my favorite ASMR triggers. I don't like that word triggers, but what else should I call it? ASMR things to do. I like tapping on the table. So I'll be doing some of that. I also will be doing some writing here. I've got a pen, and I've also got some fragrances with me that I might try and use as examples when an example comes up. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into the video. I hope you all enjoy today. Okay, so the first term that I wanted to go over was looking at concentrations. So we've all seen things like eau de parfum, eau de toilette, and eau de cologne. And so let's go ahead and go through that. Okay, so starting off with our lowest concentration, we have eau de cologne, and a lot of times we hear cologne in reference to men's fragrances, but really that's kind of a misnomer. Eau de cologne does technically mean the lowest concentration of the actual perfume oils, the actual fragrance, and it means around 2 to 5%. So a true eau de cologne should actually have a very light fragrance and not hang around for as long. If we move up one tier, next we have an eau de toilette. Eau de toilette, and these are a little bit stronger with around 5 to 20% of the actual fragrance, and the rest being alcohol or whatever other things would make up the liquid of the fragrance. So you do hear quite a bit more about eau de toilettes. You see those quite a bit, and they tend to be a little bit lighter, fresher. Typically there might be an eau de parfum version and an eau de toilette, and the eau de toilette is often a little lighter, fresher, maybe more citrusy, floral, not as heavy and deep typically as the eau de parfum. So moving up to our next one, we would have eau de parfum. These are all French words, by the way. Eau de parfum. And eau de parfum is typically around 10 to 30% of the perfume oils. So as you can see, it's definitely a little bit higher concentration. Oh, I should tell you if some of these are, so I believe that this one, Chanel Chance, is an eau de toilette, so lighter. However, this has amazing longevity. Eau de parfum, as you can see, this one, Clean Cashmere, says eau de parfum on the bottle. So those are some examples there. Okay, and then if we move up to our last tier, we have Extrait de Parfum, which maybe you have seen that. Extrait de Parfum. I don't know that I have any Extrait de Parfums in my collection, but an Extrait de Parfum would be the strongest one, and that would typically have around 20 to 40% concentration. So strong. Typically those tend to be darker, tend to be heavier, don't have to be, but tend to be. Okay, alright. So now that we've done that, the next one that I wanted to talk about was the term accord. Accord. So I should first say in perfumery we have what is called a note, which is simply the ingredient. So we might have a note of rose, a note of orange, a note of heliotrope. Those are notes. And then notes may blend together to form what is known as an accord. So we might have what is called, for example, an ambery accord. This fragrance has an ambery accord, I would say. We might have something that we would call an earthy accord. This fragrance to me has an earthy accord because it has notes that are kind of green and also patchouli and aromatic. So I would say this has an earthy accord. So it's kind of like if you think about holding multiple notes down on a piano and kind of making a certain like melody or a certain sound combined from the combined notes. Speaking of notes, that's kind of what that means in perfumery, accord. It's kind of what that means. Sometimes you'll see things though that are just like, it'll be like a rose accord, and well, it has rose in it, so. But also like peony can kind of give off a rose accord, for example. Okay, so next I wanted to talk about if you've heard of top, middle, and base notes. So we have top notes. Top notes are the notes that hit your nose first when you spray it. They tend to be the lightest notes in the fragrance, and they tend to often fade the quickest unless they are really grounded in well by like a musk or something maybe in the mid or base of the fragrance. So common top notes might be things like citrus, bergamot is a good top note, for example. That's a citrus top note. You might also see white florals in the top. So this is a fragrance that has, I think, some like green notes in the top and maybe a little bit of like citrus as well. Alright, so moving on, we have the middle or heart notes, and those are kind of what comes out more after you give the fragrance a minute to settle. You smell the top notes, and then the mid notes are kind of more what comes out next. These tend to be florals and often fruity notes as well, or like denser fruity notes, sometimes like more herbal notes. Like this fragrance here has magnolia, I think, in the heart, and maybe also rose, I think. And then lastly, we have base notes, and these are the typically the longest lasting and most sort of heavy, molecularly heavy ingredients. They tend to often be things that are woody, musky, maybe spicy, ambery, things like that. So this fragrance here, Clean Cashmere, I think it has a note of cashmere, I would assume, in the base, which is kind of like a woody, powdery scent, cashmere. And another term that we hear sometimes is what is called the dry down. Dry down. And the dry down refers to when the fragrance has fully dried down. It's typically been on your skin or clothing or the piece of paper for quite a while. And really what you are mostly getting at this point is more so the base notes and just whatever is going to stick around the longest. Some people find that the dry downs smell quite a bit different than the opening of the fragrance, because the opening has all of the top notes and mid notes coming out more prominently than the dry down. Okay, so next word for you is, sillage. Sillage, this is another French word, and what it means is basically a scent trail. So you can think of it like you're walking along and you have this lovely scent trail just wafting off of you. Or maybe not if your fragrance is not very strong, does not have a strong sillage, but sillage basically means how much does it leave a trail in your presence. For example, this fragrance, what is this called? World Power by Kenzo. This has a very strong sillage, and then also projection tends to mean just how far does the scent project out off of your body. So very strong sillage and projection, this one. Let's see, a fragrance with a lighter sillage would be this one, the Clean Cashmere, lighter. And also another term is skin scent. So maybe you've heard the term skin scent. And skin scent means essentially that it does not project a whole lot, does not project off your body. Might be likely that somebody else would not smell you unless they give you a hug or get really close to you. This fragrance is somewhat of a skin scent, I would say, this Clean Cashmere. Okay, another term that I'm sure you hear sometimes is flanker. A flanker is a fragrance that is released after a typically popular fragrance has been released, and the flanker is related to the original fragrance but might smell a little different and have a different name. So, for example, a lot of times we see fragrances that have a flanker that's called L'eau or Légère or Perfume, or so it's, for example, you might have My Way by Armani, and then you might have My Way Floral, and then you might have My Way Intense. So a lot of times flankers might be the intense version or the lighter version, Légère or Low. Okay, so next let's get into some more specifics of smell. So first one here, we have aromatic. And aromatic fragrances tend to be more herbal. They might have herbs in them like lavender, sage, rosemary, maybe a little bit green, maybe a little bit earthy. And a lot of times those aromatic notes tend to be more so in the top notes, not always, but yeah. So let's see if I have an aromatic fragrance with me. Probably this one would be the most aromatic of the ones I have. The Chanel Fresh, got some aromatic ingredients. This one, the Kenzo World, has cypress, which would be an aromatic ingredient. And then kind of similar to that, we have green. So maybe you've heard of a green fragrance, green fragrances. These are fragrances that tend to smell green. So maybe smell like something like leaves or grass, foliage, cut stems, mossy, just vegetal. So for example, this scent, Oscar de la Renta Bella Blanca, this has green notes in it. Which a lot of times you just see green notes in fragrances, and yeah, just gives it a fresh kind of vegetal sort of smell. I like green notes as long as it's not super green. Okay, next we have balsams, or if you've heard balsamic in perfumery. So balsams, they're typically resins. They tend to smell maybe a little bit ambery or vanillic, maybe a little bit sweet or a little bit spicy and warm. So for example, benzoin is an example of a balsam, and I don't know if I have any fragrances that have any balsamic notes in them right now, but yeah, that's what balsam is. Let's see, next we have Gourmand. Gourmand is a category of fragrances that basically means sweet in a sort of edible way. So notes like chocolate and caramel, vanilla, maybe nuts as well, like almond or things like praline. So gourmand is like yummy sort of sense. Do I have any gourmands? Oh, I do. This is Sol de Janeiro Cheriosa 62. This is a very gourmand scent. Yeah, it's got, I think, like caramel and like some nuts, like pistachio, and it's just very sweet. So I think that gourmand typically means sort of like more so edible smelling. Like some fragrances are sweet, but they don't really smell edible. So that's what gourmand means. Next we have Chypre. This is another French word, I believe, and it tends to refer to a type of fragrance which typically has a citrus in the top notes. Traditionally would be bergamot, which is a green citrus, and then typically it has oak moss in the base, and often maybe also lapidanum, I think, traditionally, but a lot of times modern Chypres also might have patchouli in the base. But yeah, so that's what a Chypre is. It's kind of like a pairing of notes, and I guess chypre would be considered an accord or like a type of family of fragrance. I don't know if I have any chypres with me right now. I don't think I do. Okay, next note, or next word, is musk or musky, if you've heard of a fragrance being musky. So musk traditionally used to be taken from the gland of a male deer, I believe. So it was traditionally an animal-derived note. And unfortunately, the male deers, they had to be killed to take the musk. So I believe now that that's pretty much not allowed. So musks are derived synthetically now at this point. But essentially musks just kind of provide like a scent that is somewhat almost like clean and also kind of just like sensual. I don't know how to explain it, like kind of soft, sensual, clean. They're typically in the base of the fragrance, and a lot of times musks will last a very long time. They go very well in a lot of fragrances, and honestly, that's like probably my favorite fragrance note is musk, because it's just so, you just can't go wrong with it, I find. So, let's see, this is obviously an example of a musky fragrance. This clean cashmere has musk in it. Gosh, none of these other fragrances really are very musky. Some of them have notes of musk, but none of them are really that musky, besides the clean cashmere. Maybe the Eau Fraiche is a little musky. Yeah, I would say the Eau Fraiche is a little musky. And on that topic of musk, we have animalic. That's our next word, animalic. And animalic kind of sounds like what it means, or yeah, basically just kind of smells like animalistic. Can be kind of like dirty, maybe almost like a little bit smelling like poop. Sometimes is what I like, animal poop or pee. Animalic notes can smell like that to me. I just looked up the definition, and it says can be kind of skanky or musty. So that's what animalic means. I do not tend to like animalic notes, with the exception of ambergris. That is a fragrance, that's a note that I sometimes do tend to like. I'll talk about what that is in a little bit here. But yeah, so that's animalic. I don't have any fragrances that are super animalic right here, at least. Okay, another word here. Powdery. So powdery scents tend to have notes like iris, heliotrope, musk, vanilla, violet, and powdery notes kind of just are what that sounds like. Maybe kind of almost like a powder, fluffy, dry, cozy, light. That's what powdery in perfumery means, and a lot of times they might smell comforting. Sometimes I would say on the more feminine end, cozy, and yeah, just like softer and drier. So that's what powdery means. I don't think any of the ones I have here are super powdery. The clean cashmere might be a little bit powdery, more so musky, I would say, but yeah, a little powdery. Okay, so moving on, another note for you. Aldehydes. So aldehydes chemical compounds that kind of just provide like a sparkle and a lift and like a brightness and kind of a sharpness to the fragrance. They are oftentimes found in things like detergents and soaps, so they can smell kind of soapy. A super aldehydic perfume is usually a little bit off-putting to most people, but a little bit of aldehydes can smell really nice. I don't think any of the ones I have here have aldehydes, but I do have quite a few fragrances with aldehydes. A very well-known aldehydic fragrance would be Chanel No. 5. Okay, next we have amber, and I learned something new today. I honestly thought amber was actually a resin, like amber itself was like a resin from a tree, but it's not. Amber really is just an accord, and it's created with perfume notes like labadanum, vanilla, benzoin, and tolu balsam. So it's really just an accord that smells ambery, created from resins and other things like that. I think maybe things like tonka bean can smell ambery as well. So yeah, I learned something with that. This is an ambery fragrance because it has tonka bean in the base, so it definitely smells very ambery. Okay, and then another one here. Ambergris, which in French means gray amber. And ambergris is actually an excretion from a whale, if it's actual ambergris and not synthetically derived ambergris. So yeah, ambergris is an excretion from a whale, almost kind of like whale poop, and then, you know, it like washes around the ocean, washes up on the shore, and can be collected and is very expensive and very highly prized in perfumery. Smells a little bit animalic. To me, smells kind of salty, ambery, a little bit like earthy, woody, sweet. So that's what ambergris is. Do I have any fragrances with ambergris? I don't think I do right here. But yeah, I do have some fragrances with ambergris. Okay. Next, we have oak moss. So oak moss is a type of lichen that grows on oak trees. And I mentioned it earlier when I talked about chypre fragrances. Typically, oak moss traditionally is in the base of a chypre fragrance. Oak moss is a note that I really, really enjoy. It smells woody, mossy, earthy. It just smells kind of like damp woods. Some people do not like that, but I really enjoy a good oak moss scent, as long as it's not like super, super strong. Really, really pretty scent. Alright. Okay, next word is oud. Oud. And oud is also known as agar wood. And it is a note in perfumery that is made from the resin of a tree called the Aquilaria tree. This tree smells very deep, woody, resinous, earthy, almost kind of tobacco-y and animalic. Very dark, heavy note. Again, very polarizing. So not a note that everybody's gonna like, but if you like heavier, woodier notes, if you like notes like tobacco, then you might really enjoy wood, and it's a very prized and expensive note. I do not have any examples of fragrances with oud, and I tend to not like oud in perfumery because I just tend to enjoy fragrances that are on the lighter side. If you watch my content, you know that I just am pretty sensitive. I'm pretty sensitive to scents myself, and so yeah, basically if it's anything too strong like oud, I just tend to not gravitate towards it. Okay, next. Oh, that is actually all that I had written down. So obviously there's a lot more terms that we could go over today, but I feel like maybe that's a good place to end. Yeah, I hope you all learned a little bit. I certainly learned a little bit from doing this as well. It's so fun for me to just kind of learn as I go with fragrances. Like I said, I only started my fragrance journey just about 2 years ago. So really, I've just been kind of gradually learning, and what's the coolest is that my nose has honestly gotten better over time. When I used to smell things a year or two ago, I just felt like I couldn't distinguish. I couldn't like pull out notes. If I smelled a fragrance, I couldn't tell you the accords or any of the notes without looking. I feel like now when I smell a fragrance, I'm like actually able to say, oh, this smells citrusy or woody, musky. And so that's like super fun to notice that I'm getting a little bit better with perfume. Alright everybody, I hope you enjoyed this video. Sending you all some love, and I hope you all take care, and I'll catch you in another video soon. Okay, bye.